Hi, good afternoon to the Uplift with Vision. I'm Patti Paris, the Senior Minister here at Vision, and I welcome you here into the Uplift. We're having a wonderful time talking at 1 p.m. about little uplifting things that can just absolutely change our lives, right? So before we get into any of that, let's pray in. I give great thanks for today, for this beautiful day that it is, knowing and accepting that God is in charge and all is well. I know that the universe is a safe and loving place to be. I know it has our back. And I know and accept that as we expand and express our true selves, our authentic selves, that the universe just absolutely moves to support us. I know and accept that as we get more in touch with who we are, the universe keeps saying yes. And we become those fully self-actualized selves that we are. I know and accept right here and right now that all of it is good. It is all God. Every single quality that we attribute to God is a quality of us. From abundance to wisdom and everything in between, I know that it is all God. It is all good. And so it is. So good afternoon. Welcome. I'm so glad you keep coming back and keep tuning into these uplifts. They are here for us to stay connected, to stay inspired, to stay motivated, and to just keep expressing that true and authentic nature of spirit that we are. So I'm calling today Totally Tuesday. Totally Tuesday. And I want to start off with this quote by Ernest Holmes. She said, "And the day came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom." And so that's what I'm talking about being all in, right? We have to take that risk. At some point, we have to stop playing it safe. We have to be all in with our lives, all in with our bliss, all in with our plan, all in with our desire to express the full life of spirit as us. We must be totally committed to what we are doing to be that authentic, individualized expression of spirit that we are. Each one of us here to do it differently, just differently than anyone else, because that's why we're here. You know, there's 7.5 billion of us on the planet. We are here to do spirit our way, uniquely, distinctly, like nobody else can. So we have to be all in. We have to be totally committed to what it is we are and what it is we are here to do. So the question is, how many of us are? How many of us are all in? How many of us are totally committed? How many times do we put a plan B into place, right? How many of us have that fallback position? Well, if this doesn't work out, there's always plan B, right? How many of us have that safety school, right, that we apply to? What's your safety school for your life? Going back to Ernest Holmes, she says this: if you limit yourself only to what seems possible or reasonable, you disconnect yourself from what you truly want, and all that is left is compromise. You know, and you know what Janis Joplin said about that? She said, don't compromise yourself. You're all you've got. So, you know, this is what we're talking about, being totally in, right? You know, in studies in psychology, they actually studied this whole idea of having a plan B. And it says that if you even invest in a fallback plan, a plan B, thinking about or developing a plan B for your life, or that fallback position, that it actually demotivates us from our original plan A. And it absolutely decreases our commitment to that plan A. So you can see really how detrimental it can be to have those fallback positions, because it says we're not fully committed to what we want to express in life. And I've got to tell you, planning for failure gives you permission to fail. Is that where we want to go? I don't think so. I don't think so. We know how important self-talk is. We know about our affirmations, about affirmative prayer, how powerful it is. We know visioning, how it reveals this greater sense of self to the self, right? To live our bliss, to focus on what we want, to not fear what may happen, but to go for our bliss. And Ernest Holmes said, putting it this way, he said, the person who can throw himself with complete abandon into that limitless sea of receptivity, having cut loose from all apparent moorings, is the one who will receive the greatest reward, right? If we're busy plan Bing it, we are busy preparing ourselves not to reach our goal. So the reward of totally immersing ourselves in our bliss, in our plan, in what we desire for our lives, that is the reward, right? That total commitment to our plan A. That's what that's about. Throwing ourselves with complete abandon. That's our plan A. Our love, going with our bliss. You know, there is a quote that's often attributed to Goethe, but it actually comes out of a book. I don't know if you've known this, but it comes out of the Scottish Himalaya expedition written by W.H. Murray. And this is what he says. But when I said that nothing had been done, I erred in one important matter. We had definitely committed ourselves and were halfway out of our rut. We had put down our passage money. We had booked the sailing to Bombay. This may sound too simple, but it is great in consequence. Until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. Concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans. That the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. A whole stream of events issue from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidences, meetings, material assistance, which no man could have dreamt of, could come his way. Now, I know that whole thing it was attributed, like I said, to Goethe, but it's not. It is Murray, and it's in his book. And that's what I mean by all in. When we are all in, that moment when one definitely commits oneself to something, to our plan A, to our activity, right? And when we do that, heaven and earth meet to uphold us, to support us. Providence moves too, that's what he said. But we must fully commit. It has to start there. We must fully commit to whatever part we are choosing to play in this thing called life. We have to first decide what our place is, what our role shall be. So what is our passion? What is your passion? We have to come into contact with that. It is the gift in life that you bring. It is the thing that you do your way, you know. And then once you decide what that is, you jump in. You jump in all the way. You fully commit. Like Ernest Holmes said, we must not be lukewarm in our conviction. We must know that we know. We must know that we know. Being all in is about stepping up, isn't it? It's about being our big self, doing things that we know we desire, absolutely surrendering to that desire that Spirit has for us, for life. Sounds simple enough, doesn't it? So what keeps us from throwing ourselves with complete abandon into that limitless sea of receptivity? What keeps us from absolutely just going for it, right? What keeps us from going all in? And I think that to answer that question, we have to go back a little bit to the kingdoms of consciousness. I don't know if you remember them. We've talked about them in the past, but those kingdoms of consciousness, they're 4 kingdoms, and we absolutely reside in all of them all the time to some degree or another. But when we fall into kingdom 1, we are in that victim consciousness where we don't feel like we have any control over our lives. How can we even go for our bliss if we don't feel like we're in control, if we are at the effect of the world? The kingdom 1 consciousness is that victim consciousness of the world does it to me, right? The world steamrolls over me. I have no control of my own, but I am a victim. No control over people, places or things. And it's not until we move in a conscious level, it's not until we expand our consciousness into Kingdom 2 do we understand that we do have power. We do have control. We are not at the effect of the world, but we can control conditions in and around our lives through affirmation, through prayer, through meditation. We become the controller. We're no longer the victim. We become the controller. So the world is done by me now and not to me. This is the stage they call the palaces, princes, and parking places stage. This is the stage where we begin to realize we can manifest our good. But we're busy manifesting our own good. And that's why the princes, palaces, and parking places, right? We're manifesting stuff that we want in our lives because we desire a greater good for ourselves. And then it's not until we move into that Kingdom 3 consciousness where we move beyond just wanting stuff. We realize it's not about stuff. The Kingdom 3 consciousness, we are become conscious co-creators. This is the stage where it is not my will, but thy will be done, where we allow spirit to flow through us, right? To improve conditions around us, yes, but conditions for all. It is a greater consciousness. It is not an isolated, solitary consciousness of what's better for me, but what's greater for all. And we use that co-creative power to allow spirit to use us. You know that song, Use Me? Oh God, I'm not gonna sing, I promise I won't sing for you. But you know what I'm talking about, right? This idea that we co-create, we allow spirit to express through us for a greater good, not only for us, but for the world. And then of course, there is Kingdom 4 consciousness. This is the absolute I am. This is spirit as me, right? Not to me or by me or through me. Kingdom 4 is as me. This is the kingdom that Jesus showed up in when he said, when you see me, you see the Father. This is when we speak from the I am. This is when we are in prayer, when we are doing affirmative prayer and we reach that place, right, of universal intelligence. We reach first cause. We've spent so much time in our meditative states of 1 and 2. When we speak our realization step, we are speaking the I am. This is the Kingdom 4 consciousness. This is the creative power of the universe as us. And that's where we are, right? That's where we are in truth. But yet we flow through all 4 kingdoms on a regular basis, don't we? We can be going along as happy as clams in the Kingdom 3 consciousness, and then what? We get a car breakdown, or we get an unexpected bill, or we get, an unintended experience happens, or an unforeseen consequence occurs, and then all of a sudden we're back in Kingdom 1 for a second, because why me? How did this happen? Who could have done this? That's Kingdom 1 thinking, right? And then we gather ourselves together and go, wait a minute, I can respond. I don't have to react. And so then we start moving into Kingdom 2 consciousness in that area. We can be in all 4 of these kingdoms of consciousnesses, depending on what subject, right? We could be Kingdom 3 in money, but Kingdom 1 in relationships, or Kingdom 3 in love, but Kingdom 1 or 2 in our jobs, So it just depends. But like I said, we occupy all 4 of them to some degree or another all the time. And we're going to talk more about that in some upcoming talks, some upcoming uplifts. But I just wanted to share with you a little bit about that. So that victim consciousness, that Kingdom 1, what do we need to give up, really, in order to move smoothly into that Kingdom 2 consciousness? We have to give up blame and shame, right? We cannot give up being the victim if we're blaming and shaming, if we are feeling shame, or if we're blaming others. So we give up shaming and blaming to move to the Kingdom 2 consciousness, the by me consciousness. And then what do we need to move from that to Kingdom 3? Is we need to give up the same power and control that we've acquired in Kingdom 2. Right? In Kingdom 2, everything was by us. We're doing it all ourselves. But when we move out of that into Kingdom 3, we're giving up that very same power and control, because the personal power and control is not necessary, because we are co-creating with Spirit and we're allowing it to move through us. So we can give up the power and control. We know Spirit's in charge and all is well. And then what do we give up when we move from Kingdom 3 consciousness into the Kingdom 4, into I am? We give up any illusion of separation that is left. We give up every illusion of separation that is left. And we know the I am is who we are. That is our truth. That is our consciousness. And then we move through the world being those peacemakers. Let's pray out. Giving great thanks for this time spent together. I know it is all good. I know it is God simply moving through all of creation, making itself known in infinite diversity, but understanding that behind all life everywhere stands the one eternal, the beloved, the divine life of God expressing individually, uniquely as each and every one of us. I give great thanks for each and everyone here and for all life everywhere, knowing all life is some part, some undifferentiated part of the life of the divine. I know the beloved seeks to know of itself in form, and we are that. We are so blessed. Giving great thanks, I let it be right here, right now. And so it is. So good to spend this time with you once again. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow on Wednesday's Uplift. From my heart to yours, we know we are Vision. There is no separation. Whatever the condition is right now we're moving through, we know the truth, that we are one, Spirit is one, and we are that. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.